We were just talking about the retail sales. The retail picture is not looking pretty. This as we see the government strengthening its social distancing measures over the weekend with limiting social gatherings to no more than 4 people, shutting down gyms, party venues, whatnot. How effective do you think these measures are going to be? I know it's early days, but will you be looking at more potentially too?
Yes, good morning. Hong Kong has always been applying our principles of staying vigilant, rapid response, as well as transparency. So we have been responding to the different situation. As you know, the global situation has increased exponentially, the number of confirmed cases, and now is over 700,000. So Hong Kong has been implementing different measures with an aim to first preventing the import of the virus, and secondly, preventing the virus from escalating and also spreading within the community. So the social distancing measures in terms of 2 legislation that you mentioned just now were measures to actually enhance social distancing and also to prevent or prohibit the gathering, because we find that with the recent increase in the number of our confirmed cases, especially in March, due to a lot of imported cases, that a number of them were confirmed because of gatherings and social gatherings, such as gathering at bars, dinner gatherings, weddings, and so on and so forth. So therefore, we feel that it is important for the entire community to work together to prevent these gatherings so that the spread of the virus would not escalate any further.
Would you be considering tightening more social distancing measures? And what would you be considering at this point?
Well, the Hong Kong government, ever since January, we have announced an emergency state, emergency response, and also preparedness. Since the 25th of January. And since then, we have been canceling all the big events, Chinese New Year events, and also the government, the civil servants have been, a lot of them have been working at home. So we have been, we are stopping schools, and even now, the schools are still in the suspension. So therefore, we have already implemented a lot of the social distancing measures. And right now, and just over the weekend, we have issued these 2 new legislations. So far, I think the enforcement has been going on smoothly, and everybody seems to be very cooperative in general. Of course, because it is an emergency legislation, so there are lots of questions and also queries, but then by and large, I think Hong Kong people is willing to understand the law better, so that they would not be going into a state whereby they would violate the law. So I think everybody seems to be vigilant. But of course, with the influx of a number of our students studying abroad and coming back to Hong Kong in March, we see a large number of increase in our confirmed cases, in particular in March. And a lot of them are actually, I think over 80% are actually imported cases, coming from UK, US, and also part of Europe. So this has actually...
Secretary Chan?
Yes.
Secretary Chan, some people are calling for a real lockdown in Hong Kong, the way we're seeing in Europe right now. Are you ruling that out? Are you considering that?
I think with our 2 new legislation in terms of closing down some of the premises and also putting in our regulation some measures to, for example, in the catering businesses, to stop people from having more than 4 people, for example, dining together, and other measures such as wearing masks other than eating, and all the rest of it. We see that actually the society, if you go onto the streets, actually it is quite quiet. And when you look at the restaurants and also the eateries, it's also quite quiet. So on the one hand, we are we have just implemented this legislation and will continue to monitor the situation.
So under what circumstances would you order a lockdown?
Well, we will continue to monitor the situation. First, I think we would look into the Hong Kong situation, whether people are abiding to the law. Secondly, I think we would also monitor the number of cases that we are seeing. With the number of people coming back to Hong Kong from abroad, the number are decreasing. The number is so far decreasing. But we want to also observe the number of confirmed cases as well. So we would look into all these in totality in order to see if there are more stringent measures that we need to put up. For example, we can also order the shortening of the hours, operating hours of restaurants and also other modes of operation. So we do have some other measures, but we would continue to monitor the situation to see if more stringent measures are needed. And we will always, as always, respond rapidly in terms of the situation.
Secretary Chan, the latest news coming out of China is that they're now going to be reporting cases with people with no symptoms, the asymptomatic cases. What's your take on this situation? Is it concerning that they haven't counted these numbers up until now?
Well, I think we understand, from literature and also from studies that there are indeed asymptomatic cases as this new virus is coming into play and more research is coming out. So we have been working very closely with our expert advisory panel, and they have been giving advice to us. So the early identification of the asymptomatic inbound travelers is an important strategy. So we have been, not only are we mandating a quarantine for all the inbound travelers into Hong Kong, we are also restricting the inbound travelers, also having restriction measures of our inbound travelers, such as denying entry of our non-Hong Kong residents and also putting them on a mandatory quarantine. So we are also testing in our at the airport. We are providing specimen bottles to our inbound travelers. All of our inbound travelers coming into Hong Kong will be either sent to the Asia World Expo for saving the specimen, or they will be given. They are given a specimen bottle, and they can take home to have a deep throat saliva specimen, and then bring back to the lab for testing. So we have been doing that so far because we think it is important for us to find these asymptomatic people, so that our strategy of early identification, early isolation, and also early treatment.
Secretary,
yes?
Just to follow up, is there a sense of how many asymptomatic cases you have in Hong Kong?
Well, I think we are in the process of having different surveillance programs so that we can identify both symptomatic or mild symptoms as well as asymptomatic. So far,
can you quantify that for us in any way?
Well, as far as the recent test that we have been doing it in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong airport, I think it is about 1% of people. But then this number or this quantifier may change as we receive more specimens and do more testing.